All right, let's do it. Joining us tonight from New York Wizard Magazine's Rob Felton. Be sure to head down to the Wizard World Convention happening this weekend in Los Angeles, everybody, by the way. And Nick Shager, staff critic for Slant Magazine, doing very well. Always happy to plug anything by our friends over at Wizard. Yes, welcome to Loop, everybody. Rob, I'd like to start with you, sir. Why did 300 have such a huge opening weekend?
Well, it was a great week for comic books in general. You had Marvel's big news on Wednesday about Captain America, and then you have this movie. It's a big, epic movie that's got something for guys. It's got great battle scenes. It's got amazing visceral imagery, and it's got something for the ladies. It's got lots of guys in oiled up bodies, muscle bound. There's something for everyone there.
Nick, was there something for you in the 300?
Well, 300 wasn't my cup of tea, but clearly the stars were aligned for its success. Both because Sin City had been such a success a couple of years ago, and the trailer, ever since Comic-Con last year, people have just been clamoring for it, and there really isn't much competition in terms of.
I think it was something the fans were. It was something the fans were really looking forward to. I think that the reaction, as you said, the fans wanted to see this movie. They wanted this big, bloody, epic battle. It's the greatest underdog story of all time.
They got tons and tons and gallons of digital blood. But, just about everyone here loved the 300. There's no question about it. Several critics, though, were quick to point out that the movie looked more like a big-budget video game. So, I mean, Nick, do you think that the line is being blurred between the two? And is that necessarily a bad thing?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think that sometimes critics tend to use that as sort of a shorthand for just slamming a movie, especially one that has so many effects, so many CG effects. In this case, I was one of those critics who made that comparison, and I think to some extent it's valid in that the film doesn't really have much of a compelling dramatic storyline, at least in my opinion, and
compelling dramatic storyline. It's a huge it's this huge epic battle. It's 300 against a million. It's a great story.
It is, but it
taken
feels
from history. But
well, it's only sort of taken from history.
Maybe it's a video game.
I don't think that there were mutants and monsters and immortals in the historical battle.
But it's a
I think there's been some creative.
Well, so Nick, was the problem that it wasn't historically accurate, or that there wasn't a story?
No. I just think that's not a justification for sort of defending it. I think it's fine to take creative liberties with it. I think that in terms of the video game or not video game issue, certainly setting it up as a series of ever-increasingly sort of crazy battles finished by sort of boss fights isn't necessarily the most dramatically compelling way to...
Right.
But that's what today's audience grew up.
Yeah, Rob, some people would say that even like football hero-type movies, you play a couple of the local teams and you make it to the championships. There's your boss battle. Isn't it the same type of formula that we've seen over the years?
Well, it is, and I think
that's what the audience grew up on.
Well, but I grew up on that too, and I'm a big video game player, and I don't think that necessarily has anything to do with whether or not that's a dramatically satisfying sort of story structure. As for sports movie cliches, I think those are often pretty tired too.
All right, well, one of the big benefits of digital cinema, no one can really argue this, it happens to be cost. And Nick, I mean, this movie took about $60 million to make. X2 took more than double that. So how attractive is this for filmmakers and for studios that are interested in taking on maybe a graphic novel or some sort of comic book?
Well, I'm sure it's very attractive, and I'm sure we're going to see more of the same, where we have sort of what look like very big-budget films, but where the effects get most of the costs and the actors and star power isn't quite as high. That said, there are only some sort of graphic novel and comic properties that really lend themselves to this sort of filmmaking technique, and something like X-Men or Spider-Man probably wouldn't benefit in the same way that something with such a stylized look like Sin City or 300 does.
Rob, let me go to you for the final word here, because the next big-name graphic novel adaptation that is happening, of course, is Watchmen. It's from 300 director Zack Snyder. Should this be more realistic, or should he stick with this CG look and feel that made 300 very popular?
I think you got a couple of things going on. Zack Snyder, obviously making 300 this way might have a reputation for going more stylized, but Watchmen and The Dark Knight, the two comic books that came out at the same time that really set the tone for realistic use of in comic books, probably should be played more realistic. You know, from what we've heard from Zach, he's planning on shooting this set in 1985, and he's really using it the same way the comic book was a commentary on superhero books. He's going to use the movie to make a commentary on superhero movies. It's going to be great.
All right. Actually, a final word to you, Nick. Be honest. Come on. The Oracle was still kind of hot, right? The redhead thrashing around with the incense. I mean, come on. Can we
you can't argue with that. Can we agree on that, please, Nick?
Come on. It was pretty hot, but it was interrupted by all those mutants licking her.
Oh, there was that. Come on. It's every video I download off the internet has some sort of scene like that. All right. I want to thank Rob and Nick for joining us. Thank you guys for keeping us in the loop there.
Thanks much.
Look, we can do more with CG than ever before. You know, there's no reason not to use it, but what filmmakers do have to be careful of is letting the special effects become the movie. Everybody loved The Matrix, right? Amazing story, great characters. And the sequels, they were all floating robots and animated agents. And while some critics would argue that 300 was all effects and no actings, well, sometimes you do go to the movies just to see someone's head get cut off. And that's something everybody wants to see in full IMAX digital glory. Nothing wrong with that.
Attack of the Show, weeknights at 7, only on G4.